Okay, here we go with episode 2. In the previous episode, what happened was we stopped at Typeform, and the reason we stopped at Typeform is it was a 20 or so minute video, and I thought, you know what, it's a good time to stop. So today what we're gonna do is write some code, which is gonna take the input from Typeform, which as a reminder looked sort of like this. Hello, what's your name? Nice to meet you. What's your email address? And then we're gonna add some questions here, and then we're gonna extract the data from Typeform, setting up webhooks, etc., etc., etc. So let's continue this, just like I said. Thanks for testing our platform. Let's get creating. We're going to ask you a couple questions about how you want to personalize your Diablo 4 inspired avatar. And then we added this backgrounds options, and then we're gonna now add more questions, and we're gonna say multiple choice. And what we want to do really is go to, like, I don't know, like a prompt engineering, find a prompt engineering database, and then say Midjourney, boom, prompt base, perfect. And we're gonna say Diablo 4, see what comes out of it. Oh, they have a lot of, okay, that's pretty good. And then we did Diablo 4 up here in the top right corner, very few results. And then can we filter by Midjourney? Yes, because as we know, Midjourney always gives some of the best results. All right. So maybe we can start with perhaps this, something like that. Big chest. Very cool. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Perfect. And then we're gonna, okay, I'm just like switching accounts here on Discord real quick. And I'm gonna test it locally. Let's see what this comes out. So I paid for Midjourney in the last version of in between this video and the last video. All right, let's see what comes out. Oh, I forgot to say imagine, so let's do it again. /imagine prompt. Alrighty, so as that one works, and then I'm gonna open it in the tab, and this we keep open. We're gonna ask a couple of questions, right? So we're gonna say male or female character. Would you like to create an avatar for a male or female character? Question mark. We're gonna give two options just to make it simple for the AI to generate something, and then in the future we can add more things like, okay, yeah, like gender fluid, whatever, you know, like add more options. That's good to have always. And then so we have the background, and then we need to ask another question: which class of character would you like to create? Question mark. And then we're gonna say Diablo 4 characters list and copy paste that. Barbarian druid. Oh wow, okay. There's 4 of them. It's pretty simple for now. Barbarian druid, necromancer, rogue, sorcerer. Alrighty. Alright. So funnily enough, this is what came out of Midjourney. It looks very cool already. Like V4 here, and the V and V2 looked probably the best, but we're always gonna go with V1 right now, and we're not gonna give the option to choose because we're just doing an MVP to see if people are gonna like this. And if they don't like it, what's the point, right? Let's get some feedback. So that's the point. Like, we just need feedback, and yeah, so we have 3 questions. Background, we have second question that I already forgot. What did I say? Oh yeah, the gender, and we have the class. And the question is, let's see, let's investigate. What else could we ask for? Maybe like a stance, I guess, like a stance. A stance would be good. I don't know what stances people like would sit on. I guess let's keep it simple for the first version and move on to the coding part. So let's publish this, right? So now we have a type form that we can embed anywhere on a website. You start saying, hello, what's your name? My name is Joe Biden. Just kidding. My name is Orly. Okay, great. What's your email address? orly@lf.gg. Thanks for testing our platform. Let's get creating. We're gonna do a hellish background. Would you like to create an avatar of a male or a female? We're gonna do female. And then we're gonna say necromancer, because that's what I'm playing. And then when I press submit, boom, the prompt will go somewhere. So the question is, where does the prompt go? So that's why we need to do webhooks for Typeform and set that up. So we click this button up here. Thank you, Google Bard, for your support. It's always welcome. We go to the settings, delete that. We're not paying for this yet. Settings. And then we need personal tokens. Generate a new token. All scope. We're going to call this Diablo 4. Lowercase, because we're pretty cool like that. And then it's going to generate a new token, which I will eventually revoke after this video is published. All right, let's copy it. Paste it somewhere. There we go. It doesn't matter. It's not even, you can't even see the whole thing right now, but once I start coding, you will actually start seeing it. So that is kind of annoying that I have to revoke it. I didn't use it like an env file, which is obviously if you were to use an env file. So what's an env file? .env. It's a configuration file which is usually used to like store secrets and stuff, and then you load it in Python, right? So you could say load env in Python. This will show you how to do it. There's a tutorial here. You store this data in this format, and then there's this library called load.env. I wonder if it's a import load.env. We can try this actually. All right. Boom. Okay. So I'm gonna create a secret file called .env, like I said. I'm gonna create it on the side. Okay, and I'm gonna store the token in it in the format like here. Token higher lower. What's it called? Uppercase? Yeah, uppercase. And then equals, and then the actual token. Save it, and then I have boom. This thing here, the app.py, which I just created. It's a empty file, and we're gonna do. All right, let's see. Load.env. See what this gives us. Oh, I'm not a robot. Yeah. So it's something we need to install with pip install python.env. So let's do that. Why not? We got nothing to lose there. All right. So let's copy paste this. It will load all of the stuff. Perfect. And then we want to import other stuff, right? Like we want to do like a web server, which will accept webhooks. So we're gonna use Flask, which is a micro framework for creating API backends and stuff really quickly. So import from Flask, I guess. From Flask, lowercase Flask, import. We're gonna do Flask higher case and requests, or request rather, because we're gonna import Flask, and specifically we're gonna use it to create a route, which basically the webhook. All right, let's get the paint out again, just like back in the day, aka 1 week ago. So here we go. So we have the web form, we have our backend, and what's gonna happen here is like this is Typeform, and this is our backend. It's running on our computer for now. And what happens is the Typeform will send the data to the backend. So on the backend, there must be something listening. So think of like an ear, right? An ear. That looks horrible. And then doesn't even look like an ear. I don't know how to do an ear like that. There you go, something like that. And the ear basically listens to the Typeform request, and whenever something happens, it's gonna react to it, right? And do and operate some data transformation. So as you say, I want a male necromancer on a hellish background, the backend is gonna take the data and do magic with the prompt, and then send this data over to somewhere else, which we're gonna talk later about in the next episode. So let's finish writing the backend. So the first thing you want to do with Flask is, so we're gonna load this .env, and actually, you know what? Let's try and install this. So we have, what do I have here? I need a terminal cmd, and then we're gonna run this in administrator mode. Boom. I'm gonna move to cd. I'm gonna move this over 1 second. Whoop-de-doo-be-doo-doo-doo. Python projects. All right. Python projects. So cd hack journey, right? I made a directory called hack journey, and now inside of hack journey, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add we're gonna first of all do Python 3 M is like load the module virtual environment. So we have this like virtual environment with all of our little files, and then we're gonna call it environment, and it's gonna create this Python. So now it's creating the virtual environment, and it's just installing Python inside the virtual environment. There you go, it's just finished, and now we're gonna load, activate virtual environment on Windows. And the way we do that is pretty interesting because I don't remember the actual command for Windows. So I think it's just, let's see, let's Google it. So we have env scripts higher case activate, and there we go. We know it started because it says env in the front. So there's the environment running. Now inside of here we can pip install Flask, and we're gonna also install this load env, right? Does it say here the exact name? Python. There you go. Thank you, comments. See, it's so beautiful to have the internet. Python dash. Don't env, nah, .env. Boom. Oh, Flask. Didn't like that one. Oh, didn't, okay. Okay, let's try one at a time. Python.env. Boom, that's installed. Yup. And then pip install Flask. And there it is, it's installing it. It's doing all of the magic. That way it's contained to this environment inside the hack journey folder. And then I can create a file when I want to migrate over. That's called a requirements file, but we don't care too much about that, right? Like now, we're just keeping it as MVP as possible. So pulling up the app file right now, load.env should work. So if we are to run this, we should try, let's see what happens. So Python app.py. No errors. Okay. And then what did we call? It was called a token or something. Let me double check without trying to reveal it live. Okay. Yeah, it was called token. Okay, perfect. So, okay, so let's see what we learned so far. You can load .env, this loads all the stuff, and then you use the OS thing, import OS, and then you load it this way. So I can say token equals, oh, I'm just gonna change this. Type form token, OS get on env, and here we just, since we called it token in the .env file, now we're gonna call this token, and then we're gonna just say print typeform token, and that's gonna reveal it. So maybe we can just get the first 12, 1, 2, 5, I don't know. It's just gonna print the first characters without the whole thing. So let's see if this works. There you go. It starts with FP, and if I double check that this is what it was, yep. Actually, it's 0 based. So let's do 0 to 10 and run it again. Oh, hello. There we go, TFP, the typeform token, and it does indeed start with that, and it's really, really long. So, okay, all of that's good. So in case you want to know what it looked like, I'm gonna delete it without saving it. This is what I saved in my .env file, and of course, it's much longer than that. So, okay, here we go, closing it, don't save it. Perfect. So now we know how to load the token. We're gonna write some code that basically loads the web server, right? Like this listening ear. So the first thing we do is we load Flask, app equals Flask. This is directly from like the Flask website. This is how you load Flask. And then we want to create a route. So we're going to define a function, and the route, we're going to call it, actually we're not defining a function. First we do this like decorator thing, app route. And I'm reading from some notes here. Receive data is what we're gonna call our route, and it's gonna be a post, right? So method that we want to support into Flask. When you do an API call, we want that when Typeform posts data to our ear, to our listening web service, it's gonna be of type post. So we need to specify post here. Also, I want to check how long is this video so far. It's already 21 minutes. Oh boy. Okay, we haven't done much since. So let's keep at it. So we have an app route, and then we have an actual function. And the function, we're gonna call it receive, if I can spell, receive data. And the reason we're calling this function receive data is because it follows the name of the route here, right? And then we're gonna, there's no arguments that we're passing. We're gonna use spaces, and I tabbed, so I indented this. And then what I'm gonna do is it's gonna take a payload actually. So it's gonna take a payload eventually, and the payload is basically because when you send data in the post method, Typeform sends a payload to our ear, to our web service. I keep making these like stupid metaphors, but I'm trying to make it so that everybody can understand, if you're watching this far into the video, that the payload contains the data that the Typeform got from the user. So we're gonna make a variable called data, and we're gonna create a function called, request. So here we imported request, and request basically says, if there's a request coming in on my endpoint receive data, and the methodology is a post request, we want to get the data. So request dot data, and then we're gonna make sure that the data comes in as, a string of something. So UTF-8, and that's gonna make sure that if there's anything, it's encoded, and then decode it rather into a format that we can read. We can now also send a response, right? Like say, okay, we got the data, we send a response, and we're gonna say response equals, and maybe a string like everything went okay. And then we're also gonna send, maybe we'll just keep it to okay. And then we're gonna also send status, response status, right? Response status. We wanna send 200. That means A-okay. So now if we were to like just run this, first we wanna return this, return response and response status, which hopefully response, I spelled right. So now if we do that, the last thing we need to add is to make the server run. So the way you do that is you say if, this is a very, I guess, cookie cutter way, if name equals main. So if this is running standalone, then start a server. Indent app, so app is, Flask, and then we're gonna say run, and then we're gonna give it a port. And I think by default it's 8000. No, it's not by default. It's what I'm specifying it to be. So right now you have app run port 8000. Okay, so first things first, let's try to run this by itself. Let's see if it runs a server. Oh, okay. Did I install everything? Yes. And yeah, I think I got everything here, but it's not running the server. So let's debug. Python app.py. I've installed everything. There's a if name. Okay, app run. Everything is. This takes the token. The token was printed out, so everything worked. There's no reason why this shouldn't work right now. Okay. Let's pass let's find out Flask Python debug flag. There's a way to get debug stuff up. Okay, we add this here. Okay, let's just copy paste it in. And then we add this right here. And this is gonna make the app debug and see and print something out if there's a problem. Okay, no problems. That's pretty cool. It returns. Did I save? I think I saved everything. Let's try again. Okay, well, something needs to happen here for this to work. Unless I'm using an older version of something. Let's have a look. Flask, information, debug mode, flush, app, run. Okay, let's try. Flask. Why did I say flash? Flask, -- app, run, -- debug. Where app is the name of the file. There we go. I guess this is the new, perfect. So now, if we were to send a curl request, so let's open another CMD, and we're gonna send a curl request to localhost. Also, it's running on port 5000, which is interesting because we said do not run on 5000. But let's see what happens. Curl X. We're gonna do a post. Okay, then we're gonna send to localhost, which is this address 5000, and we're gonna send JSON, and we're gonna send the data as hello, wrong quotes, and then 1 2 3, close that. And also the actual route is receive data, right? So to making sure this is all good, let's see what happens. Boom. Okay, name response. So I have a typo. All right, I have to add an S here. And now it's gonna reload. See, the debugger is reloaded, detected a change in my file. And the response status is not defined. Oh, I have a typo here. Yep, sorry. Okay, it worked. So as you can see, the local server is now running and it's reporting okay when I send data to it. There is no validation, so I could send any kind of data. This is kind of like not best practice, but we're gonna fix that in just a second. So let's go and actually go on Typeform. We have the token, and now we're gonna have to register an authorized endpoint sort of thing, right? So how do we do that? Like, how do I make my computer into an actual server that can be reached out by the rest of the people out there on the internet? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna use this thing called ngrok. This friend of mine, or actually a couple of friends of mine, work on this product, so that's how I know about it. And actually, I've been using this for many years. And we're gonna download the Windows 64-bit version of it. And just super simple, it downloads it. And then I'm gonna open the Midjourney project, and I'm gonna extract this here. So just FYI, let's see if I can show you. Okay, how do I hide these? There we go, boom. So as you can see, like we have the environment file inside of the Midjourney. It's under Python projects, the end file where we have our token, our app.py, and now we have ngrok. And ngrok, like I said, I just run it. And what happens is, ngrok is a command-like application that exposes your stuff to the internet, and I can select which port. So for us, it was 5,000, but we actually decided that we wanted to run, for some reason, we don't want it to run on 5,000. We want to give it a different port. So we want to do 8th host. Okay, we're going to do it like that. By default is 5,000. And I wonder if we can pass that argument. So we're going to stop the server. So I'm going to Control D, Control C. Okay. So when we run the app, we do flask -- app, the name of the file that has our code, which is app.py. We run it, we debug it, and we also want to do, I suppose it's port equals, and then 8,000, because that's the one we want to listen on. Let's see if it works. There we go. So now it's running again, 12700, port 8,000. Go to the ngrok window, start it as 8,000. So the command is ngrok http 8,000. And the reason it's 8,000, again, it's because I decided that this is 8,000 and this is here is running on HTTP, no S. So right now we have a URL which maps to localhost 8,000. So anytime I will send data to this URL, let's copy it. It's going to forward it to our local app. So how do we test this? Well, look, we go back here. Instead of putting the local server, we're going to put the string that ngrok gave us. And we keep the data exactly as is. And also we make sure that we're on the right endpoint, which is receive data. So now if I send a post request, I expect OK to come out. Okay, so what happened here? We got the post request on receive data. We send a 200 back. But ngrok decided to send, before you can serve HTML content, you must sign up for an ngrok account, yada, yada, yada. But that's okay. Now, if you want to debug ngrok, it also gives you an interesting interface. So we're going to mark it here, open it here. And as you can see, through this local interface, which is running on our computer, right? And that's ngrok who set this up. you can see that the data that we sent arrived to the server and we responded with a 200 OK and then some other stuff. Although, as you can see in the logs of our request, it also sent a, like an HTML response that we weren't really interested in. But the important part is that it sent a 200 OK, just like we wanted it to. And so now what we want to do in the next part of this video is to go and set up Typeform and register it so that it will send data to ngrok. So it will send data to this endpoint here, which only lives for 1 hour and 58 minutes because I'm on a free account, but that's enough time for us to build the next part. So how do we do that? So Typeform had made it a little bit interesting to register a webhook endpoint. There is no like graphical user interface way to do that, but you can use curl request to make it work. So let's get started. Let's see. So here we go. So we're gonna do a put request to this. So let's open up a new file here. So we're gonna do curl -x put, the Typeform, and then the tag, we're gonna call this Diablo 4, and then in between here we're gonna put this part here from the form, boom. And then the other thing, it says it needs a form ID, which we specified, a tag, and then it wants enabled an URL as the payload. So going back to our notepad, the quotes, okay, paste, clear, CLS. Okay, here we go. Boom. And it created it. And just like that, it worked. And here we go. So what have we done? We created a webhook on our backend, or at least we created a platform to like the webhook sends data to our backend, if that makes sense. So like Typeform sends a webhook, our backend listens on port 8000, but it doesn't really matter because ngrok maps that for us. As you can see, HTTPS this and that basically redirects to our localhost 8000. Then on our localhost 8000 we have a server that listens for stuff, right? So now what can we do with this is we can change the code to maybe there's some payload here, right? That's received here. So this is called data. So this data, we can print the data before. So we just like want to try and say print data. So now what's going to happen if I actually submit the form, and if the data shows up here, that means that Typeform sends data to our backend, it gets listened, and then we can move the data across, time and space and do something. And in our case, what we want to do is we want to make a prompt that we are going to engineer with the input from the data that the user sends to type through Typeform to us. So let's go ahead and submit this. There we go, the data is submitted. And now what we should be seeing is some kind of data coming through here as a post request. And there it is, post 400. Okay, and here it is. So it sent data on the wrong address, on the wrong route, sorry. So we can change that really quick, but the data arrived. And now we don't have to rely, we can just like take this data and fake it for a second. The way we don't have to submit the data ever again, we can just say data equals All right, and then data equals, and then we're gonna unload the whole payload. Perfect, just like that. And now we know what the data looks like. So now we know that there's options, the title, all this other stuff. And now we're gonna parse this data and extract the information that the user has sent through Typeform to our backend and then create the prompt. And that's in the next episode, because it's been 1 hour and I'm going to edit this video down to 20 minutes. See you soon. Okay.